Hey guys, this is John, and I'm playing bratac2 in the 15-minute pool on ICC. Bratac2 is from Spain, and let's check his stats. He has played 23 standard games, so not a whole lot. Peak rating of 1959, so he's close to his peak. It is right now about 5:30 on Saturday evening. About to go have dinner with my parents, and thought I'd get in a standard game before that. Let's see if bratac2 is going to make a move. He went into the tank. All right, c4. c4 on move 1. I'm going to play b6. This is a move I intended to play for some game that I can't recall at the moment. An over-the-board game. Actually, I remembered which game I planned on using this in, but I'm not going to say which one to preserve some secrecy. But it's called the English defense, and I think that the name of the opening was championed by, or it was named the English defense because of Tony Miles, the late Tony Miles, who was a big promoter of this opening. He played it pretty extensively, not so much in his later career as I recall, but he was a big proponent of b6 against c4. And it's quite a trappy line too, leads to some interesting positions. e4 on move 2 is a challenging try, and quite simply, white is planning to take over the center now. If left to their own devices, they will play d4 next move. So if I play something like e6, they might just go d4, which actually is not such a bad thing if I respond with bishop b4, because a lot of times black will try to assault the e-pawn from a distance, sort of in Nimzo-Indian style. So let's think if I want to do this. I'm trying to recall some of Miles's games in this line. I know e5 is possible here. I probably will not play that, though. I probably will play e6. c5 is also playable, too. c5 we might be liable to transpose into a hedgehog of some sort if white goes knight f3 and then d4. So let's just think if e6, d4, bishop b4 is acceptable. I think it is, so let's do that. Compared to a normal Nimzo, in the English defense, black hasn't committed the knight, so sometimes this knight can go to e7. I think it's ironic, by the way, that this is called the English defense, and it's played against the English opening. I don't know if that was intentional or what, but when I was studying this line, that kind of tickled me. Okay, g3, so I'll probably play bishop b4 against that all the same, and maybe go f5, because a lot of times black can follow with f5 and use the long diagonal to their advantage. Let's go bishop b4, and we'll keep open the option of playing f5. So if he goes bishop g2, as I think he will, f5, no, knight ge2, okay. I can still play f5 if I want. What other moves make sense? Just knight f6 is possible. But f5 would be by far the most ambitious way to play this. So f5, bishop g2, knight f6. All our pieces are aimed at the center. It's nice because after f5, if he ever goes d3, he's immediately in a pin. So this bishop on b4 could pay dividends. Let's go f5. Highly experimental game for our Sunday standard video. Highly experimental already. You know, a couple years ago, I was very anti-fianchetto openings. I would hardly play any openings involving a fianchetto. But as my style has matured, I've become more open to them, and I don't know why. I think they just provide for more entertaining games, and I think fianchetto openings can be great weapons against lower-rated players because it ducks a lot of conventional theory. So d3. So he's still playing quickly. Now, if I take, I wonder if the idea is a3. So that if I take on c3, he can take back, and then he stands a good chance of recovering this pawn. So that might be their plan. Because what else makes sense? I mean, if he takes back, I can take with my knight, and he will be pinned, because, again, whenever they play d3, they're now self-pinning the knight on c3. So I think their plan is f takes e4, a3. I'd probably want to drop my bishop back and keep that piece. But how attractive is that? I don't know. Be interesting also to play f takes e4, a3, and then something wild like e takes d3. Inviting bishop takes b7. D takes e2. Queen takes e2. Problem is I lose my rook in the corner. Bishop takes c3, pawn takes c3, knight c6. I think that's pretty speculative. Yeah, I don't think I'll do that. I could just castle here if I wanted, but he's going to castle himself, and he'll be somewhat out of danger. So what if I play fe, a3, bishop back to e7, de, and then maybe e5? It's a thought. Okay, well, let's just take. If anything, this will force him to play a3. He might also castle. I don't know why I'm not considering castling that seriously. It just seems like a3 is more forcing, but he may just as well castle too. He does. And I was thinking about castling. Knight c6 is interesting too. Probably castling is more flexible. Castling, and if de, I can play e5. That is okay for me. Let's do that. Yeah, so de, e5, knight d5, and maybe bishop back to e7, inviting him to gain the bishop pair. But then his light square bishop will be blocked, and e4 will need an additional defender. Yeah, so very likely I'll play e5 after he recovers the pawn on e4. Okay, takes with the pawn. Yeah, I think e5 is a good decision. Simply block the diagonal for the bishop. Make sure he can't play e5 himself. And I'm looking at bringing this bishop back, as I said, because I think it's worth retaining it. And if he plays a3, I don't want to comply and capture on c3 because this knight is superfluous for the moment. He would love to get to c3, so I don't want to be a part of that plan for him. And here I was thinking bishop e7, so I'll probably stick with that unless I think bishop c5 or something is better, but doubtful. What if bishop e7, they play knight ec3, intending to take and then quickly jump the other knight in? Do I care much about that? Maybe not. I don't think so. Let's just play bishop e7. I'll pre-move this capture. The fate of this knight is uncertain. It might just go to c6, especially if there's a good shot I can get it into d4. Like if he moves this knight from e2, maybe knight c6 and eyeing the d4 square is appealing. Now let's try it. If knight b5 attacking c7, I can play rook c8. Covers that pawn. Okay, so he's content to treat the position slowly. I feel like king h8 would be a useful move. Just getting off this diagonal, just in case later something happens. Bishop c5 is also an attempt to use the d4 square. So if bishop c5, bishop takes, b takes, I get an absolute stranglehold on d4. d6 is another move I'm considering. thing I don't like about bishop c5 is they can take on f6. And I might have problems with my d7 pawn. Let's go king h8 as a precautionary measure. I'm wondering if they take on e7 and I were to take with my knight, whether c5 would be a good idea. Now I'm looking at bishop c5 again. And if they take, possibly taking with the pawn, now that my king is tucked away in the corner. Let's do that. If he's not going to take on e7, I might not want to just have my bishop held hostage forever. So with this move, I'm trying to fight back and use the d4 square. This knight is still superfluous. He takes, okay. So if he takes on f6, I'm thinking take with a rook. Okay, you can do that, but what is your follow-up after rook c8? I don't see the grand idea behind this move. Because now I can just try to push him back with a6. I don't want to take on d5 now because he'll take with the c pawn, attacking my knight, and the rook gets to attack c5. So I'd rather leave this be. Once I get knight c6 in, it might be possible to play bishop takes d5. Or sorry, once I get knight d4 in, it might be possible to play bishop takes d5. I think he's trying to use tactics to go after this bishop. Is his plan. Ah, I see a nice... If this knight weren't here, I could play c6. So I was thinking knight a5, gain a tempo on his queen, and then immediately play c6. Unfortunately, they can always take on f6, though. If knight d4, he plays knight takes d4, bishop takes d5, probably c takes d5, c takes d4, and he has the open c file. I don't like that. I think knight a5 would be the move in this position. Knight a5, queen a3, let's say c6, knight takes f6. I could take on b5. All right, we have to do that, mainly because our time is low. So we're going to be forced to a decision. Our time is dwindling. We'll force our hand. And I think knight a5 is critical, so... Otherwise, the bishop is loose on b7. I guess I could have played bishop a8, maybe. Okay, now this. This is going to get weird. So I'm forking his two knights. If knight takes f6... Rook takes f6 might just be good there. Because if knight c3, the c4 pawn is loose. C takes b5 is the other choice. Yes, knight takes b7. Knight takes d7, though. b4. Queen a4, bishop c6. That would be a good line. Also has c takes b5, knight takes d7. b4, queen d3, though. Rook d7. Rook d1, bishop c6, bishop h3. Murky. Okay, let's just play the simple move. Because if knight takes a7 now, rook a8, and that knight is not coming back. It's just dead to rights. So knight c3 will be played most likely, and then I can take on c4. And if he wants to keep an even material balance, he has to play queen takes a7, which unfortunately hits my bishop, in addition to the pawn on c5. Knight c3, okay. Yeah, take, queen takes. I could play queen b6 after all that, though. It's probably fine. After he takes on a7, that is. I could also play queen b6 right here, but I don't think I want to stick around for knight a4 and stuff like that. Yeah, let's just take. It can take on c5. But I can take on b2. Weird. Is d5 any good right now? d5, take on a7. An odd position. Knight takes b2, rook b1. Knight will be hard to defend there. How about just bishop a6 right now? Let's do that. Simple move. Because I'm not sure if knight takes b2 right away is any good. I need this knight protected, so if queen takes a7, I have rook a8. Followed by knight takes b2 or some discovery. So it's time for faster moves. I'm not yet panicking. I mean, I think this is enough time, but the position is complex enough where I would like to get some time back, for sure. I see an idea. If b3, maybe d6, and then if queen takes a7, I have rook a8, trapping his queen. So that's good to know. Because if b3 and my knight had to move back, like say knight b6, e5 is undefended. You couldn't take it right away because the bishop takes f1. But still, it's nice to know that I have d6 if I need it, which I might. Strange that I missed queen takes c5 until I had played knight takes c4. I was so focused on queen takes a7, I hadn't considered that he could just take on c5 right away. Okay, so that move... Probably d6. Yeah. Because if he takes a7, rook a8 is winning. I mean, his queen is nearly trapped. Does have queen b4, though. So queen b4, rook b8, queen a4, forced. He's always just escaping barely. What else can I do? Rook b8, queen a4, queen a5 maybe? c6 is loose. Thinking I might just want to play queen b6 right now. It's lame though. How about rook b8, queen a4, then queen b6? Compelling him to play b3 probably. Knight a5. Okay, gotta move. I see an idea now that I'm going to try to play. So if b3, I think I'm going to play knight e3. Idea, f takes e3, bishop takes f1, bishop takes f1, queen takes e3, check. King g2, and maybe double up the rooks then. And have an initiative. So here I'm threatening knight takes b2 and also the knight e3 move. I don't want to play knight e3 before queen b6 because he had queen takes, well, maybe not queen takes a6 because c2 was hanging. But still, it feels better when I can win the e3 pawn, especially with check. He might see what I'm up to. Okay, now is the time to do this. Just seeing if knight d2 or something makes a difference. Nah, knight e3. Ah, okay. Knight e3, I can even take on e3 with check first if I want. Hoping for king h1, bishop takes f1, but he can block with a rook. Let's say rook c e2 or cf2. Now that I have bishop takes f1. So if queen takes e3, he would have to play rook f2. Don't know that that's winning though. Check. Bishop f1. It looks really dangerous for him. Bishop takes f1, rook takes f6, bishop h3. Okay, I know I'm getting really low on time, but this is important. Okay, if I go bishop takes up f1 on the other hand. Bishop takes, queen takes, king g2, rook over. It's a little less clear. I'm going to play this move.
Check.
I'm going to do it first. So my line is rook ff2, I think is forced. Queen e1 check. Bishop f1. Bishop takes f1. And I think he's in big trouble right there. I don't see an adequate defense. So I'm threatening bishop h3 checkmate, or checkmate in 2. And his queen is so far away. It's unable to help out. I think that wins. So rook ff2, queen e1 check, bishop f1 is forced. Bishop takes f1. Yeah, bishop h3. He can't attack my queen with any good move. I mean, he could put a rook on e2, but I have bishop takes e2. And other moves, king h1 is just running into bishop takes f1. Rook cf2 is running into bishop takes f1 as well, which is decisive. Unless he has something weird like knight d1 there, but I don't think it's enough. Yeah, he's going to be down in exchange at least at that point. That's probably his best way of playing, though. Yeah, rough position for him. Let me check that rook cf2 line. So rook cf2, bishop takes f1, knight d1. Let's say queen e1 then. Rook takes f6. Yeah, I could just play bishop takes g2 check, king takes g2, g takes f6. I'm up in exchange. It's over. Yeah, let's not get fancy. Let's just do this move. I know he has knight d1. Knight d1's like the only move. But I think it's still winning. Queen e1. Yeah. Could also play rook bf8 right now. Might be good. Queen takes a7. No, that's... Oh, let's not be greedy. Let's just take this. Yeah, let's just take. Pre-move that capture. Just gonna take there, huh? Okay. Okay, let's just double. Fortunately, if he takes, I have to take with a pawn, blocking the file. Queen e7. Yeah, that's a slight annoyance. Good king g8. Doesn't have bishop c4, so that's okay. We'll probably move his king now, so he can free up his bishop. Because I want to go rook f7 and kick his queen out.
Check.
Not sure what he gained by playing that move. Let's do this. Let's take with a queen. If he wants to trade down, that's all right. I think I can stop these pawns. I think I got a handle on him. Problem is my time is so low right now. Queen d4 is a threat.
Check.
Let's do that. Cut off his king. He's got to start pushing some pawns. Okay, now I can do this. This could be a little annoying. I don't want his king becoming too active.
Check.
Let's see if I can get d3 going. Huh. Weird. My time is so low now, though. I need my king over to help out.
Time warning.
Yes,
Check.
I know. I think I see a good way to play this. This move. But he can just take it. And then promote. Not good. Not good at all.
Check.
Bishop c4. This is bad. Yeah, I messed this up.
Check.
Messed this up really bad. King b4.
Check.
Yeah. Yes, queen c5. Pretty much over.
Check.
Okay, or that move. Oh, that was unfortunate. Yeah, I spent too long looking for the win. Kind of surprising amount of counterplay. That a-pawn. Because I have a dilemma. I mean, actually a7 is not a threat, but bishop d5 is kind of a threat. Yeah, regardless, that was just sloppy time management. Let's have a look, though. So c4, b6, and then e4. Bishop b7. Yeah, so this line is really interesting. I mean, it's probably not totally sound for black, but I like it. It's just, knight e7 would be another way of playing this position, by the way. Just trying to castle and then strike at the center with f5 or d5. So f5, bishop g2, knight f6, d3, take. I was really anticipating a3 in this position, but instead he castled, which is probably equally good. Let's just see what the engine says. Yeah, engine likes castles, okay, but it also thinks the position is close to equal. Take. I played e5. Knight c6, I didn't like him playing e5, but I guess knight g4 and this pawn might be overextended. Yeah, because if he supports it, I have check. And then knight f2 check. So e5, knight d5, bishop back to e7. So I have some control over d4 and aspirations of putting a knight there, but he gets control over d5 too. Bishop here. I had mixed feelings about bishop c5. On the one hand, I get just a firm grip on this square, but also the coming tactics, knight b5, rook c8, queen b3, were hard to calculate and cost me a lot of time. He was trying to profit from delaying the exchange on e7, so he didn't want to play this move, or knight takes f6 if he was considering that. He's trying to make me think that he might not do that, so eventually I got sick of waiting and played bishop c5. Knight b5, rook c8, queen here. Maybe I could have played just... I said bishop a8 was one move I thought I maybe could have played, but queen a3 does hit c5 and a7, so that's no good. I wonder if just a6. I was worried about knight d6, but... Oh, knight a5 in this position. Attacking the queen and defending the bishop. So we'd have to do this. Take. Knight takes. And then I assume I take on c1. Yeah. Winning material. Wins an exchange. Okay. Some subtleties. So a6 would have been fine. Oops, not that move. Pawn a6. He would just have to go back, and then I can play rook b8, now that my rook is no longer needed to defend the pawn on c7. Oops, I did not mean to do that either. Sometimes these buttons are so close to each other that I just press one, and it goes like all the way forward or all the way back. So I played knight a5, went queen a3, I played c6, knight takes f6, rook takes f6, knight c3, knight takes c4. Okay, it does look like queen takes a7 might be better than what they did. Yeah, the engine certainly thinks so. Queen takes a7. What was I planning on doing against that move? It wasn't rook a8, I'll tell you that. It might have been just queen b6. I can't quite recall. But the point is, he's attacking the bishop on b7 and also the pawn on c5. So I have to address both of those threats. And queen b6 seems like the easiest way to do so. But he took on c5. I played bishop a6. Here, d6. Yeah, rook c2 even was not so good. Should play pawn b3 directly. d6, this is always a nice move to get in, because if he ever takes that pawn on a7, rook a8 traps the queen. So this could be kind of similar to the game. Here, rook b8, queen a4, knight a5. Okay. It's not as good as the game, because I'm pretty sure the game continuation was just winning for black. So rook c2, d6, queen b4, rook b8, queen a4, queen b6. Yeah, queen b6 is good, I think. And I was really thinking he was going to play b3, but if my intuition is correct, and I'm pretty sure it is, b3 is probably just losing after knight e3. So maybe knight d1? I didn't see this move during the game. It's the engine's top choice, though. Defends b2. It prevents knight e3, and also reinforces f2 as well. Yeah, that looks like a better bet. Still prefers black. Bishop b5, queen b4, c5. Okay. My pieces are quite active. So let's see b3. b3, knight e3. Knight d5 is a possible defense. That doesn't seem any good, though. I can just take, right? Rook c6. Queen b7. Yeah, I'm hitting his rook twice, so regardless of which minor piece he captures, I'll be up in exchange when I take. So he instead took the knight. Oh
Check.
boy. I lost a position that was minus 13. Yeah, originally I was going to play the following line. I was going to play bishop takes f1, bishop takes f1, queen
Check.
takes e3. Oh, and that's just force mate. Okay.
Check.
I missed queen f3. I didn't see that move. I was looking at stuff like this. But yeah, completely missed queen f3. And whatever he does, king h3 gets mated immediately, and king g1 is also mate. Ah, okay. Well, now I wish I would have gone for that line, because that means he can't even take the bishop on f1. And if he can't do that, yeah, the position is completely horrible. But then again, the game line, too, was also very strong. Queen takes e3, rook cf2. Yeah, because this line just loses to this. And then bishop f1, bishop takes f1. Yeah, with this threat. Forced mate. So, he played the only other move. I took on f1. Knight d1, again, only move. Queen b6. Ah, okay, queen b6. Much simpler. Yeah, now I see why. Okay, because regardless of which way he takes on f1, like let's say bishop takes, then I grab on f2, knight takes f2, and rook f8. And he can't defend the knight. His queen is useless in defending. There's no queen takes a7 move like he had in the game. And similarly, if king takes f1, then rook takes f2, knight takes f2, rook f8. Yeah, incoming mate. Or at the very least win of a knight, but looks like forced mate. I went queen e1 here. Even that looks bad. Should take on f6 first. Okay. Yeah, and here, I think I let the wrong minor piece survive. If I play rook takes f2, knight takes f2, rook f8, actually this knight can't even be defended, because if this, I have c5. I saw a line like that in the game, but I'm not sure why I didn't go for it. I think I was just getting so low, I was getting somewhat flustered. Yeah, this is a nice idea to stop the queen from coming back to defending. So queen takes d1. Yeah, now he has some hope. Not a whole lot of hope, but some. I mean, with 1 minute left, even though I'm minus or plus 3.5, 4, 3.5 or 4, it's not easy. Queen e7. I could play queen d4, I suppose, and go pick up this pawn with check, because after queen d4, his king would be forced somewhere where I could check him. That's probably what I should do. Played king g8. I thought he was going to move his king in order to try to go bishop c4. Might have been more testing.
Check.
Queen e6 here. d5. It's probably okay, but yeah, I am missing better stuff. Queen d4 and just go take the pawn. That was good on several moves, wasn't it? d5, e takes, queen takes.
Check.
Now it's not as big of an advantage. Bishop c4.
Check.
I still thought I had everything under control, but the fact that this advanced pawn makes me move my rook away from the e-file and then his king becomes active, that complicates things. Yeah, like now I need my... If my pawn was on f5 and my king was up on f6, this would be a lot easier. Now I'm down to 30 seconds, and it's kind of a tricky position, too. Yeah, you can see now he's at least equal. Or better. d3, a7, d2, bishop e2. And I thought he even might have messed it up now. Rook d6 here. Okay, and rook a6 was absolutely horrible. What I could do is promote, take, and then come over with the rook. Okay, and eliminate this pawn. But who knows what happens with, approaching 10 seconds left on my clock. Instead, I thought I had a brilliant idea. So, hoping that, I could just pick off this pawn, but of course he can take it, and then he queens, and...
Check.
I have some checks, but he's going to be able to escape.
Check, check.
Yeah,
check.
This is just agony at the end. Well, that's frustrating because clearly I had a totally winning position. But the time got the better of me. I shouldn't have spent so long, probably on that move, maybe. I spent a solid minute on queen takes e3. Despite knowing that bishop takes f1 and queen takes e3 were both good. I should have just picked one and gone with it.
Check.
But I spent too long figuring out how I was going to win on each of his three moves. Rook ff2, rook cf2, and then king h1. So that could have been cut down. But already here I'm a little lower than I should be.
check.
Still, though, it was kind of a nice game. It's just a shame. Yeah, and I was already chalking up the point, but it was not easy after queen e7. Yeah, I think anything's possible at this point. Any result, I wouldn't be surprised by. Okay, but at least we got an interesting game in. I had a loss for a change in the 15-minute pool. It's been a while since I've had a loss. I don't know that I've ever posted a loss, actually. There's a game I posted against a guy who got banned for cheating. That was a loss. But bratac2 was not cheating, I'm sure of it. So good game, bratac2. And
Check.
I will be back tomorrow with another standard game. Manage your time well, people, because it's important. Do better than what I did. Don't blow a minus or plus 10 game. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.